Is it the last album, you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Fair
I think
enough.
this might be our swan song.
Alors me voici confortablement installée dans ce petit hôtel cossu de la Riviera vaudoise. Je vais passer 10 minutes avec le mythique groupe norvégien AHA, et plus particulièrement son claviériste et cofondateur, Magne Furuholmen, et il va nous parler de leur nouvel album qui sort cet automne. Hello Magne, so your band has lasted longer than many marriages. You've got like 3 generations of audience, and the only question about the past that I'm going to ask you, what advice would the AHA of the 80s give you today?
Wow. Yeah, I like to think that I would be giving better advice to the 80s version of myself than the other way around. But I think in some ways we have stayed true to ourselves over the years in that music still means as much today as it did then. So I guess the advice that I would give to my younger self was, yeah, don't worry about things, just do it. Do as much as you can. It's the same thing in the advice I give to my children, you know. One is a musician, and I always just tell him, just write, record, be happy, because it's a fantastic thing to be able to do something you love for work, you know.
Oh yes, it is. You're right.
It's a huge privilege, and I never, you know, I will always remember how it's our audience that has given us this opportunity, and we'll always be grateful for that, because it's not a given, you know.
About the upcoming album now, so it's the first collection of new songs since 2015 and cast in steel. What new adventure will you take us on? We are going up north, right?
Yes, I mean, it started as an idea for a filmed concert. That was, and I guess it was because a few years ago, we did a project for MTV called MTV Unplugged. Yeah. And we had a really good time together. So I thought, okay, that's the blueprint. Let's do it like this again. Let's not be in the studio for 6 months, but let's just film a concert. And then, of course, when you start thinking, what are we going to play? Immediately you start thinking, oh, it should be some new songs. Oh, maybe it should all be new songs. So gradually it just turned into a new album. And so it's filmed up north, above the polar Arctic Circle, in amazing nature. So the nature plays a big part in the movie. It's kind of like a sort of poetic narrative that showcases the Norwegian nature that was a big part of us growing up, and has been a big part of our songwriting also, you know.
But what was the process exactly about your songwriting? How did you do it? Like all together, or
no,
you wrote the lyrics? Or?
No, I mean, it's very different now than it used to be back in the 80s, because we lived together in London, we recorded together, we wrote together, and we had this dynamic in the beginning that was very much a group of people with the same purpose. I think today we live in different continents, you know, and we don't spend much time together. So this AHA in 2022 or 21, when we started, was 3 very separate individuals. So the album is recorded, half of it was recorded in Los Angeles, half of it in Norway. And separately. So I contributed half the album and produced the songs and recorded it myself. Paul recorded and produced the other half in without. So we didn't even see each other. We didn't even know what songs was going to be we would be playing. And then, of course, Morten is the only one who actually had to meet us because he had to sing on these songs.
Oh yes.
And then the idea was, let's get together and
gather in Norway and live an experience
and play the songs. You know, you tell me what to play, I tell you what to play, and then. But what's kind of interesting is that I think when people hear it, they will still recognize the fundamental signature that we have as composers and artists. But we always try to do something different, something new. And of course, this is an album that's recorded with an orchestra as an integral part of the whole project. And we've never done that before, and we never really made this kind of a movie before. So yeah, there's something new, but I think people will, for us anyway, even if I'm, recording everything myself, if it's for a-ha, I can't escape knowing what a-ha is and how. Even if I try to change, I know when Morten's voice comes on, it'll sound different than if I do it, So you're mindful of the legacy, and you want to just, be respectful of that and add something that has value.
Definitely. So in the film, you were all in Bordeaux, and you say it's a letter from our home to the world. But what's the message behind it? Like you said, also ecology, but it is a message that you want to share to the world?
I don't think there's one clearly defined message. For me, it started out as a concept album, so maybe it's like two different concepts, like 50-50, two different concepts. But as an individual, I'm more involved today in projects that have to do with research and climate change solutions, and so that has affected how I write. I mean, all these songs that I wrote for this album were connected to the ocean and to nature. So for me, that was the source of inspiration, and I wanted it to be a statement about this. That's not necessarily the case for Paul and his contributions. But I don't think we can escape how important nature has been growing up in Norway, and how it has shaped us as artists and writers. And so this is a way of kind of paying back, saying, here's this amazing nature. We are at the point in time where nature is under serious threat. We're not telling people what to do, we're just saying that for us this is a bittersweet moment of recognizing our own inability to do enough to secure this beautiful nature for the next generation. So
but how did you live? Like during the film you were all connected to the nature, but how, like the way you lived during the film, or how did you connect?
Well, we were in the middle of this amazing, all this amazing scenery, and it's not like, I guess, we didn't sort of go out camping together. And
I was wondering. Okay.
No, it's more. I guess for me, I wanted it to be a clear statement from a-ha. But as with everything we do together, it doesn't end up being one person's vision. It changes and morphs into a communal thing, and that's fine. I mean, it's. I still think we've managed to create something that adds value to the legacy that we have together and the shared fate of a-ha. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the music in itself. And just like the rest of the world, I know we should have done more in our lives to be more mindful of the
But
situation.
you did, because at the end of the 80s, you and the band's lead singer Morten Harket, so you were in Switzerland.
That's
and
correct.
You bought an electric car, if you remember, a Fiat Panda that had been converted to run on a battery. So you were kind of pioneers. And I was wondering, what are you doing nowadays to preserve the environment, but I mean in your daily life? Because you say like small gestures, but what do you do?
Well, like everybody, you try to examine your own situation and see how you can, live with yourself. And as a Norwegian, I am mindful of the fact that we have supplied oil to the world, so all our hands are dirty. We became rich of this black gold, that has polluted the world. So I think we have a special responsibility in also pushing for new, greener solutions. And I hope that we will be able to create a better scenario for future generations. I'm hopeful and kind of a technology optimist, I guess, in the sense that but I'm also, in my personal life going more and more into this idea of being mindful about how we live. So during the pandemic, I bought a farm up north, even further north than Bodø, where we recorded. And this has become a life project of regenerative agriculture. And so instead of reading fiction, I've been reading all this amazingly inspiring literature on how to grow the soil and how to create a scenario where things are in a cyclical fashion. So, I guess it's just the fact of growing older and realizing that there's so much meaning to examining your own life and how you live it, and then just to be close to, I now own goats. I didn't 10 years ago, and just to be part of that, the farming community is an amazingly enriching thing, and I just want to try to do it in a way that's sustainable and best practice for maybe inspiring other people. And I'm inspired by people who change the way you grow vegetables, change the way you think about waste, how you can turn waste back into energy.
Yeah, it's really concrete, actually.
Yeah.
Me, I'm in the step of reading. I don't have a farm yet, but I hope in a few years.
The thing is, I was lucky enough to have the possibility to actually buy land to be farmed, and then in a few years, I hope to have done that in a way that is helpful and not hurtful. So that is a huge personal.
It's precious, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm, that is. I plan on getting old on the land.
That's a nice plan.
Yeah.
I can feel it's really like a personal album. What's your biggest fear with the release of this new album?
I don't really have any fears. I mean, in a way, I think our career has had its time, and the main ambition now is to just make sure that if you do something new, it adds something of value. And I feel. I mean, it's not up to me to judge, but I feel we've done our best, and at this point, that's we have very little left to prove. There's no. I don't expect to be, as successful now as we were in 1985 or
it's
6.
Another cycle.
It's a different situation, and I'm just kind of super grateful that we are still able to play to enthusiastic audiences around the world. I mean, this is not something that you can take for granted. So, you know, I get up in the morning to try to make something beautiful that wasn't there the day before, and the fact that we have been given this opportunity by people who have embraced our music is something that I'm eternally grateful for.
Is it the last album, you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Fair
I think
enough.
this might be our swan song. And if it is, I mean, I didn't really expect this to happen anyway. So if it hadn't been for COVID, maybe it wouldn't have happened. You know, it was, but you know, I thought we would be finished in 2010, and here we are,
And then,
12
yeah.
years later.
Well, I'm glad that you're
So-
here today.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad too. I mean, I would have been happy to end it then, but I'm also happy to have come back to it. It's always a learning experience, you know.
I think time is out. Thank you so much for the energy and time, of course.
Well, thank you.
On your Instagram account, you write part human, part inanimate object. So I'm glad I had the human part today. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I can do inanimate object if you want.
Why not?